This is my little video tutorial on the differences between effective reach and why it's so important when you're dealing with weapons of any kind. To kind of set the stage for you, comment thread, we were discussing if someone doesn't like a gun and they're defending themselves from someone who's attempting to break into their car, what would be an effective weapon? And there was a bit of a disagreement. Everyone has their own opinion on these things. It's entirely relevant. It's important stuff for people who are having this discussion, which includes me. I was a part of the discussion. So, point being, you don't have a gun, you do have a machete or some other melee weapon, and the person who's trying to break into your car only has a knife. So, to kind of start and preface this, if someone is attempting to break into a car and there is a person in it, they have every intent to harm, and they need to be treated as they have every intent to harm, which means they are already at an advantage, because most people whose vehicle is getting broken into don't really want to hurt anyone and don't really want to get hurt in the process. So, let's boil this down. Let's separate this into segments, right? So, the first segment is effective reach. So, this is a cheap $5 machete, which has lasted me a surprisingly long time, but it was $5, and I got it from a Walmart. Because of how the handle is, and it's in a state of dire disrepair because I keep trying to remove it so that I could get it a better one, and it doesn't want to come off, I'm going to use this, which is the exact same length, but as you can tell, it's not a razor sharp edge on a really wobbly handle, so I'm not going to hurt myself as easily. And then secondly, we'll use my little flip knife, which its overall length is about 9.5 inches. It's somewhere in that zone. But the main thing I want you to take note of right at the start here is the difference in length between these weapons. The handles are the same exact length, but the blades is where it really gets fancy. So there is a huge difference here. Most people who have a knife and are trying to stab you with it aren't going to be running around with a big cleaver or a butcher knife. They're going to be holding something like this. Probably not the same knife in any metric, but like same general reach and all of that. General vicinity of the same brand. So the reason why I'm personally making the argument for a machete instead of like another knife, for example, is because a machete is just a really big knife. And the person who I was debating with and having this conversation with made a really good point. Knives won't leave you anywhere near as open as a machete will, and I'll demonstrate that right now. So this is a knife, I'm slashing with it. It's not leaving me open at all, because I can move to a different line in a really short span of time. And cuts with it are really, really easy to do, and stabs are really easy to do. So like if I were to go and stab, really effective stuff. However, because most people who are using weapons aren't trained with weapons, they're not always going to be doing the most effective thing, and that's understandable. If you're in a confined space, slashing with a machete, not going to work very well. So A, I think everyone should take some self-defense class of some sort. B, everyone should have a knife of some kind, because they're really useful tools. And C, if you're in a confined space, don't try and cut with a surprisingly long blade. So the reason why I'm bringing up machete at all, despite the arguments that I've made against it so far, is because of effective reach. So this can get to someone else who's using a shorter weapon much, much more easily and much faster than someone with a shorter weapon trying to get to you. And I would like to preface this by saying, if you're trying to cut someone who's in knife range with a machete, you're going to be at a disadvantage. If you're trying to stab them, you're at a disadvantage. However, if someone who has every intent to harm you has broken into your car, is holding a knife, and is already in range to stab you with said knife, you messed up like 8 steps ago, and you were probably screwed to begin with. You should have a knife anyways, just in case, but I feel like you should prevent them from getting that close to you in the first place. And the only way to do that is effective reach. Or you can start your car and start driving, but I mean, that's not the conversation. Now, someone else in the comment section made a really good point. The best weapon for this scenario would be a short spear of some kind, and they are absolutely correct. That is the correct decision. Because all of the range of a machete, but with one specific line of attack, without accidentally getting caught on anything and having the biggest stick in a civil capacity, it's a really effective tool. So the second part that I'd like to note, though, is that if you can stab someone with a machete really easily, they're no longer going to be able to reach you with said knife, and you're no longer in as much danger. Sure, they can throw the knife at you, but that doesn't work very well for most people. And now, the next thing I'd like to cover with this particular debate, this conversation here, is machetes are scary. I wouldn't want this hitting me, that's for sure. This would suck. This particular one has a saw on the back. That'd be awful. If I was trying to stab someone and I saw they had a machete, I just wouldn't try and stab them. That would be a horrible decision. So, to kind of preface this, to explain and summarize my entire opinion here, I think it boils down to a few factors. How much time you have before they get into your car and get to you, effective reach, and whether or not they're crazy. Because if they're crazy, the menacing aspect of it's not really going to be all that effective, but most people that are trying to break into a car aren't crazy, they're just stupid. Or trying to make bank, I don't know. But if they're trying to break into a car with a person in it, they're probably just stupid. So, machetes, they're cheap, affordable, you can buy them at any store. This was $5. You can buy them in places with stricter blade laws too, because it's a tool. Like, it's incredibly useful. Everyone should still own a knife of some kind. They're useful for everyday carry, self-defense, and if everyone has a knife, most people don't want to use knives on each other, because they're horrifying and brutal, and honestly, just really handy tools in general. I think everyone should have one. I think everyone needs a knife of some kind, just for everyday use, because, I mean, I've run into a lot of situations where I've needed my knives on hand, and if I didn't have it on hand, I'd be pretty royally screwed. Alrighty, so that's my summary on that. I've got all of that clarified, all of that cleared up. Separate note for future reference, I'm going to be working harder on editing these videos so that they look nicer, because when I start a video and I'm walking over to the camera, and then when I'm ending the video I'm walking over to the camera again, it's just kind of counterintuitive, especially because I have the ability to just crop the ends of the videos. So I'm going to start doing that, and I'm also probably going to start posting videos more regularly. So to all 8 of my subscribers, great news, guys! But to everyone else, I will let you guys know I'm probably going to be doing political stuff as well as blade stuff and weapon stuff and martial arts stuff, because those are my interests and those are the things that I like, and I think that they are very important topics. But yeah, that's about the summary of everything, so letting you guys know in advance,